Yo, Mondo, are we live?
We are live.
We are live, baby. We're underground, the house, the home of underground hip hop.
Isn't that crazy, Prodak? Like when you type in underground hip hop on Google, you see the Wikipedia, and then our site is like the number 2 link globally.
In the
Isn't that
world,
crazy?
in the world, it matters today in today's era of internet and algorithms and all that shit. It matters.
Well, kudos to you guys. Congratulations on that because you've obviously put in the footwork and earned it. Because being here consistently, providing a platform or resource for content, has obviously earned you a place in there. So that's kudos to you guys for that.
And with that, a proper introduction to this man, AC, the program director in the house today.
Thank you to my good brother.
What up, AC,
Product for
man?
inviting me up here, brother. I know that was your idea because you have been a great friend of me since the day we met.
AC, just do me a quick favor. Can you move the mic as close to your mouth as possible, if you don't mind? You know what I'm saying? Because this is gonna be a raw underground interview, guys. AC, the program director, has been in the scene, man, since I was a teenager, and I'm about to turn 40 in July. I remember I grew up in Norwalk, Downey, Cerritos, and there was a maybe the only record store outside of Amoebas and a few others, Zen Beats and shit, that was called Stax. I was a freshman.
What was that, like a hit, like a?
It was a hip hop shop. They
Okay,
sold
okay.
hip hop CDs and merchandise and so
Stacks.
forth, and they did in stores. And back then there was no social media, so to find out about shows, I would walk into Stacks and there would be like a board where they would list a whole bunch of in stores, and these were all artists I was very unfamiliar with.
Okay.
And then there was a in-store once where Dilated Peoples came, Tafari came, Feel the Agony came, all
So they
kinds
were
of
having
heavyweights.
actual hip hop.
But the first person that came in was AC, the program director, because he was up there on the DJ tables getting set up.
That's right,
This,
AC.
this is not very long after I came out of the real underground and became a familiar face in the underground hip hop scene in LA. Because there's a whole real underground hip hop world that exists way underneath and above and beyond the known hip hop scene and people in the hip hop scene. Artists who are completely discontent and completely lost all faith in finding real soul brothers and sisters anywhere in any scene, and they stay in their own world and they make great music. And some of them have been very successful in creating a good industry of their own and have persevered and stood the test of time without being a part of any scenes or industries.
What
outside
I'm
their own.
understanding right here, you just said right now that a lot of these fools fell off.
Well, yeah, but we'll get into that later. But let me get back to the Dilated Peoples though, because he mentioned them, and this is at a time when a lot of people didn't know about me. But Dilated Peoples, they recognized me from the beginning. And when I was growing up, my parents used to tell me, "We don't know why you do this black culture. You're not that good at it. You're not going to be successful. You're not going to be rich or famous at it." And I said, "Well, Mom and Dad, I don't want to be rich and famous. I just want to be in the special thanks." And when Dilated Peoples put their first album out, my name was in the special thanks, and that was like my dream come true. And so from that point, I was just
That's big, fool, for Dilated People's album to come out and then it says AC to PD right there.
yeah. And then Jedi Mind Chicks put out their second album after I did their first show in LA in 2001. They put out their second album or the third album, Visions of Gandhi, and I was one of the only 10 people that stoop thanked on that one. And then Louis Logic put out his first album, and I was in the special thanks. So these were my dreams coming true. And then I was bringing artists to LA to do shows because I noticed that I couldn't find hip hop shows in LA anymore.
So tell me about that. Like, what do you mean about bringing artists to the West Coast or to LA for the first time, right?
My experiences in hip hop shows were very good in the 80s, but in the 90s, as time went on, I noticed that the freshness, the originality was being lost. It was being swallowed up by the misinterpretation, the misrepresentations of hip hop, the massive imitations and mutations of the culture became very, it multiplied and became very common compared to the whole world of great examples of evolution in the culture. It became harder to find the evolution more than ever. But I knew that it was always out there, so I never gave up on it. And I knew that there was artists that had never been to LA that deserved to come to LA. So in 99, 2000, I started to produce events every week in Pomona at Taconazo on 2nd Street called Third Place.
Taconazo?
Yeah, third Place. And we started to do shows there every Friday called Third Place. And every big artist, every good artist in LA, we would put them on stage, and these shows were free. And it was an open mic. And then we would also have like good opening artists. We made a commitment to not be like all the other so-called hip-hop shows in LA that have sucker DJs playing the same so-called classics at every show that you've heard at every other show. That was a huge turnoff for me.
Yo. I want to slow it down right here. It's so dope and refreshing, and it's bringing me back to a lot of memories, man. I was at those shows at the Taconazo right there in Pomona. It was like the hub of where real raw underground shit was going down, bro. And I remember specifically, like, when some commercial motherfuckers would go up on stage, dude, people would boo them. And then they would get jumped outside, bro. Like, that's how hardcore Pomona was. Taconazo, man, I saw so many dope heads there, AC. It was not even funny.
We come from the era where whack artists would get booed off stage, sucker DJs would get thrown off the set. And that became...
I still like that.
That was gone.
I'm still like that.
By the late 80s, you would go to hip-hop shows and you see whack opening artists and sucker DJs playing the same shit you heard at every other show. They're basically cheating. And then everybody in the crowd that's not mad, I'm looking at them all like they're suckers, like they're enemies of the culture, and I have to do the spin around and walk out. Like, I leave. I'm so quick to walk in a place and walk out. But
that's based off of, is that your personal preference, or is that something you feel like were you basing that on what you feel like underground hip hop should be, or just hip hop in general?
Well, when I was growing up in the 80s, it was hard to earn. Anybody just couldn't get on stage, you know what I'm saying? Any DJ couldn't get up there. You had to earn your way up there, you know what I'm saying? But that earning your way up there became extinct by the time the mid-90s showed up. So I'd go to hip-hop shows, and almost none of the opening artists deserved to be up there. And you'd be mad and tired by the time the artist you went to see came on stage. And then the DJs would be playing all the same records you heard at every other hip-hop show. So this is like stale, the opposite of fresh. So I made a commitment to doing shows where people could come and feel safe. Like, you're going to see good opening artists. You're going to hear real DJs playing dope, fresh records that you won't be able to go to other hip-hop shows and hear other DJs spinning. And the DJs can come there and dance. The B-boys can come there and dance to fresh music, because a lot of B-boys stopped going to shows in the 90s because you couldn't hear good new music anymore. You hear the same music or terrible new music. So-called underground hip-hop was really amateur or toy. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't really like refined, real hip-hop artists who can actually impress you and make you not mad or tired. These actually artists can make the dance floor stay moving. You know, you would go to Unity downstairs in downtown LA, and the whole dance floor would be moving. There might be 3 or 4 circles, but there would be guys and girls dancing together all over the dance floor all night, because the DJ was spinning dope new shit. They were breaking new records. And I'll never forget, that's how it was in the 80s. Everybody was dancing to music they never heard before. And this was the culture. Now you go to shows and you hear music you've heard before all night, and the new music.
And they keep playing it over and over and over, the same shit over and over.
And then the opening artists are horrible. And you see this at shows with legends being headliners, and they should know how to do quality control of their shows. They should know how to tell a promoter, look, we're going to have these artists open up, and we're going to have this DJ, because we can't trust you to invite our fans to your show and know they're not going to have to deal with whack opening artists and sucker DJs playing the same so-called classics that you've heard every other so-called DJ playing, but they're really sucker DJs if they're
it's
playing.
Keeping the quality of hip-hop up, you know, with
fresh.
a standard, you know,
fresh. It's like fresh never turns into stale or whack.
Yeah.
And most people don't understand this. It's like
fresh. Keeping hip-hop fresh.
Now,
you know what I'm saying?
if it was all done before, if there was nothing new and original anymore, I would have to give up. I would quit DJing because I couldn't be able to find it anymore. But I do a new mixtape or 2 per week since 2000, and I never fail to find at least an hour or more of amazing new music that I never heard before. And then when I put it together, every song on there is going to keep the dance floor going. So the culture of hip-hop says, oh, you're a hip-hop DJ. you're a hip hop purist. You're this to hip hop, but I never claimed none of that. I just keep finding and sharing good new music.
How many compilations do you have? You said
Well over 2,000.
2,000
Well-
of
Okay, but I want to go deeper into AC's head right here, bro.
Yes, sir.
Like, how do you judge good music, bro? Because like,
All right,
there's
well-
a lot of people in hip hop, they would play their
that's a
record
good
to you,
question.
and they would insist, like, nah, motherfucker, you're tripping. My shit's dope.
I have a phonographic memory. I have a phonographic memory, which means that I remember almost everything that I've heard in my life, which enables me not to play the same songs again. So when I hear a song today, it's compared to every other song I've ever heard. And if it's not as good as or better than anything else I've ever heard, as far as good as at making me dance, and making me want to move, physically, spiritually, mentally, taking me to a place I've never been before that's undeniably great. If it's not doing that for me, I'm going to skip it and find something that does.
Right.
And I never fail to find at least an hour or more of amazing music that I never heard before that makes me want to dance.
But that's what's dope, because you come from an era that comes from the dance era, just the vibe era. But at the same time, as a fan growing up, obsessing over underground hip hop, I was never going to underground hip hop shows to dance. I was going to like listen to hard lyrics and dope metaphors and subject matter and just. But you were a part of that though. Like, you were not only a music enthusiast, a vibe enthusiast, but you were like rubbing elbows with raw lyricists.
Well, when I went to Unity, I would go there to do both, to get on the dance floor with somebody of the opposite sex and hopefully have a good end of the night. And hear some good new music. To see an artist I'd never seen before, and hear real DJs like Mark Love when he was in his prime playing music that I never heard him play before, because he was really good at that. You know, saying that he was one of the best at that back then. So he was really leading the way and showing DJs how it was done back then.
Shout out to Mark Love.
So we when we started doing our shows,
He was another DJ I saw all the time at Stacks.
your mic.
He was another DJ I saw all the time at Stacks, by the way.
Right. So when I started doing my shows in early 2000, I brought Jedi Mind Tricks to LA for their first show, which was also Percy P's first show in LA, which was also People Under the Stairs' first big stage in LA. Right after I did Ed OG's first show in LA. And then I did MF Doom, which was also Louis Logic, self-titled, and Apathy's first show in LA. And I had them open up for King T, because King T is, to me, the king of hip hop in LA. To me, like, he's one of the greatest ever to do it. One of my favorites ever. So I felt like
King T. Let me think. Alcoholics, right?
he's one of the founders of the Alcoholics crew. He's the originator, one of the originators of the whole Alcoholic crew and the LA Posse production crew, who produced all of his great albums, and DJ Pooh. The great DJ Pooh and the whole LA Posse legacy and family is responsible for some of the greatest music. They even produced LL Cool J's best albums, his second and third albums, I think. Definitely his second album, and maybe some of his third album. But that was LA Posse. That was the Los Angeles production team making LL Cool J's best shit. Like, there's never been an East Coast West Coast thing between the best from the East and the West. There's never been. I'm from the beginning, and there's never been no East Coast West Coast shit between the best from the East and the West when they were in their prime. If they fell off and started thinking that hip hop was turning into a culture of rap on whack beats, rap on horrible music, then they might have fell off and started playing along with the East Coast versus West Coast shit. But when these artists were in their prime, Compton Most Wanted was making music with Gangstar. Public Enemy was the bomb stop while I was producing Ice Cube's first album. The best from the East and the West never had a problem with each other over the coast. Never. It only became a gimmick and a fake hip hop gimmick. And only people who don't understand hip hop jumped on that shit. I'm saying, I've never even thrown up a W, because I don't believe that there's a West Coast, East Coast thing in hip hop. It's a universal thing. It crosses all boundaries. It crosses all borders, all colors, all demographics, rich or poor. It's just a culture of shock in the house. Some people got it and some people don't. It doesn't matter where you come from. It all matters.
So you said
It's in your. It's not. Doesn't come from anywhere other than the soul of the individual.
you said you've been here since the beginning. KRS-One.
Yeah, I'm the as big as Boogie Down Productions fan and an original BDP fan as you'll ever find in LA. I'm an LA breaker. I was breaking and popping in LA since '81. So when Boogie Down Productions came out, Public Enemy came out, Jungle Brothers came out, Ultramagnetic MCs came out, LL Cool J came out. These were like Eric B. and Rakim, blah blah blah. This is like Slick Rick, blah blah. This is big time in hip hop.
That was like Kool Keith, right?
Cool Keith was the Ultramagnetic MCs, and Ultramagnetic MCs producer Said G was a big part of the production crew of Boogie Down Productions' first album, Criminal Minded. So they were like the same posse, the same production camp, Boogie Down Productions, but then KRS-One kind of evolved into his own level as a producer, and he ended up producing most of the great Boogie Down Productions music. So you got to give a lot of music credit to him. So, and then he did that for such a long time that Boogie Down Productions is responsible for like well over 10 classic albums of music by the Boogie Down Productions group, and then D Nice, and then Mad Lion, Heather B, Just Ice. There's all kinds of Boogie Down Productions stuff that's really totals a volume of over probably 10 albums more of good music, timeless music that will sell for collector's items prices for the rest of the time. And then Gangstar came along.
Gangstar.
They did it just as long as Boogie Down Productions did before their sharp creative edge got dull. And then other artists emerged like J-Zone, and MF Doom stayed. Like MF Doom remained from the old school to the new school, but he re-emerged as MF Doom and not as Zev Love X as he came out. So there was artists carrying the torch, and Large Professor evolved, and 45 King evolved, and then People Under the Stairs came out, and Insight came out, and Edon came out, and Jedi Mind Tricks put out 2 amazing first albums. So I had to bring these artists to LA for their first show because they weren't being brought to LA. And when I brought out their first show in LA, everybody that had clout in LA put shade on me. If they had a job at a record store, they did everything they could do to hide the Jedi Mind Trick show, to not shed light on it, and to put shade on it, to put doubt on it. Like, why are you bringing these Wu-Tang wannabes to LA? I said, nope. Violent by Design is one of the greatest hip-hop albums I ever heard, and I'm doing their first show in LA. I don't give a fuck what you think. I don't care what you think about it. So now people know that I was ahead of the times on that one. And then, People Under the Stairs' first big stage was also that show. So I went on to do Cormega's first show in LA, J-Zone and Count Bass D, and I did a whole bunch of, like a long list of two dozen at least other modern day legends. I brought them to LA for their first show. And this is before I owned my own record store. And then in 2005, I met a graffiti artist from New York who had a shop in Long Beach, and he invited me to come down there so he could rip me off and act like he was my friend. And took me about 3 or 4 years before I realized that he was ripping me off and not my friend. So I went solo and realized that if I was going to do it, I was going to have to do it alone.
And was that the birth of Hip Hop Philosophy Radio?
Hip Hop Philosophy Radio was born in that record store in Long Beach. So hiphopphilosophy.com was started in 1999, 2000, but the radio station went 24 hours in 2006 out of that record shop. So it was a record store. The guy who owned it called it something else. It was a real weak name, but I went along with it because I was just showing the guy love and respect. And it came back to bite me in the ass. He was coming and going. I didn't realize he was coming and going. But I should have seen it come a lot sooner, but I've never been the best at always recognizing the snakes in the grass before they get to me. So I try to get better at that as I get older.
Hell yeah! I mean, it happens. It's part of the game. The industry is full of snakes and shit. You see what it's turning the hip hop into today. It got J. Cole beefing with Drake and shit. Like, that's big news.
Well, what's the root of, being a snake in the industry? That's such a broad term. So many people.
Well, there's a big difference between a snake
and
word to my man EMS. There's a big difference between a snake and a sucker. Saying you can't blame the suckers for the snakes, and you can't really call all the suckers snakes. So there's a lot of suckers in the industry that just are under the influence. They don't realize that they're playing a game that has nothing to do with the culture. And then you got a lot of people in the industry that know they have nothing to do with the culture and have no interest in the culture. So there's a fine line there. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, and then there's a lot of different spectrums. There's some people that are part snake and part sucker and part dope motherfucker.
They still dope motherfuckers.
You know what I'm saying? Some people are just,
Man.
you gotta be a good judge of more, how much game this person has versus how much heart they have. It's heart versus love, game versus love, and when you realize you're dealing with a person that has more game than love, that's where I like to go the other way. People say I'm burning bridges. I say that bridge is not trustworthy. I'd rather burn it than cross it.
Right.
Well, and I would think that comes from overall your principles, right?
Well,
That's your stance.
It comes from knowing a long time ago how I was going to be remembered when I died, and not allowing anything to come into to my picture that might compromise that. Not wasting one day doing anything I don't want to be remembered for. Spending my time with anybody that I don't want to be remembered for spending my time with. Choosing my music and my people, my company wisely, it's got to be something I get better with at time, not get worse with.
Hell yeah, and you learn, right? You learn. You deal with a bunch of people that are.
Well, once you know, you never hear it all. You'll never know it all. You keep learning, you keep meeting more people. You're not the only one. I'm not the only one who likes good new music and that knows there's good new music out here in the world. I know I'm not the only one. There's always people out here that are like you in their own way. You have something in common with, and when you can meet them and connect with them on what you have in common instead of focusing on differences, you can create magic with them. Like you have magic, and I have magic. When we put our magic together, it makes bigger magic. We don't focus ever on our differences. We never bring up our differences. Although we might know what they are, we never confront each other about them because they're not worth our time. We know what we have in common, and when we spend our time together on what we have in common, it makes magic, and that's undeniable. So that's where I'm at.
Hip hop. Hey, the first time I met this guy was at the Hip Hop Dong Show over there at the Shambhala. Shout out to the Shambhala.
Gong Show.
The Gong Show, the Hip Hop Gong Show. Mondo, it was.
He said
it was
the Hip Hop Dong Show.
the Hip Hop Gong Show, and they had this big ass bell full, and if your shit was whack, they would hit the gong like ding.
No, we recorded the gong from the actual Gong Show from the 70s in our MPC and would hit the button and hit the gong whenever somebody was not entertaining the
If
crowd.
your beats were whack, if you weren't rapping, if you weren't entertaining the crowd, you were gonna get hit with the gong.
Got no time for that. Next.
And with a bunch of people there, if your shit is whack, fool, and they hit you with the shit, fool, oh, that shit was, you coming back fresher next time.
It worked. It worked really
you were
good.
shitting down.
Most people that came back the second time didn't get gonged, and the crowd was full of people who could not get gonged. So I had a house full of people I could have passed the mic to show them how to do it. If they're like, "Can I get another beat?" I'm like, "Pros, EMS, show them how it's done." And it was done right away. Like all I had to do was hand the mic to random, hand the mic to you. You never complained about the beats. You just ripped whatever I was playing, and you did it like a real MC would. And that's what a real MC can do, is rock a dope beat that they never heard before.
Yeah, hell yeah, that was the whole point. Like of fucking around with your sound, you DJing, cutting shit up on the spot. You and the other homie that used to do the beats.
Well, we would never bring the same songs. We would never play the same music. Fresh was the word. This is our target audience. We can't let them down. We can't play something new and whack, and we can't play something that's old that they've heard a million times before this good. This is you're gonna run the target audience away. This is my target audience. I'm not trying to transgress them. I'm not trying to make them feel like I'm hustling them for their time.
Did MCs ever get upset, fool? Like, did you ever have like fools be like, "Hey, what the fuck?" Because you know how they're so ego. Like,
Yes, but when you're in a professional setting, like it's different than the streets. You know what I'm saying? I can't gong people in the streets very much. The gong show doesn't work really good in the streets, but it works really good if I have a stage in a setting, a professional program.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then everybody's respectful. We're obviously not trying to be destructive. It's very clear. If you understand the culture, if you have a minute ability to understand the culture at all, you understand that we're not hating. We're being constructive. And at the end of the night, we're trying to leave people with a night that they want to remember from being entertained and not for being insulted or having their time wasted. And if time is money, we don't want to waste their time either.
No, that shit worked, fool. You would see fools go in there with whack beats or whack bars and then get gonged, and then the next time they were there, they were up their scale, up the bar, you know, and it works.
And this is coming from a man that, like how we were talking, like you in those early days, you were putting mixtapes out, everything you felt that was dope, making a compilation and distributing it hand to hand at Taco Nazo, wherever you were at. And I value your opinion because today, like, DJs don't even exist anymore. Outside of, Static Selecta out there in the East Coast.
Whack shit selector. Fuck that guy.
Oh, whack shit selected.
Fuck Static. That dude makes one or two dope beats.
But that's how limited the scope is. Like Shady 40, what's that radio station called?
Shady 45.
Shady 45. They have a little segment with Static Selecta. He puts out a mixtape. Outside of that, on that level, I don't see anyone else doing it. But see, that's how the game is today, right? You see, back in your days, bro, like when I used to see you at the Stacks or at the Fat Beats and shit, it was like DJs were, I feel like, way more of an important piece of the puzzle than just the actual artist themselves.
Well, after I stopped putting out mixtapes was when I started putting out my mixtapes. I noticed Shiite's mixtapes were not the same anymore. And I noticed that all my favorite DJs were not reliable anymore. I couldn't go to the House of Blues and see Big Daddy Kane, Slick Rick do a show, Rakim do a show, and not see Kid Capri, Red Alert, or Tony Touch there going out like sucker DJs, playing radio rap that no real fan of any of these legends would want to hear at one of their shows. So I realized that I couldn't stay underground anymore. I had to become an active member of the community because I thought these guys would never fall off. I thought they would never lose it, but they did. So I had to start putting out mixtapes and bringing artists to LA that were making good new music, because if I didn't do it, nobody else was going to do it.
Yep.
So I did it, and then I just keep doing it. Now I'm trying to get better with time. So now I have I've put out 4 albums on my own label, and I've put out music with the artists that I grew up listening to. I have over 50 albums of music out now that I produced on my Bandcamp, and I think my catalog is beginning to eclipse almost anybody in hip hop history as far as my catalog, the content, the amount of money, the volume of music that I have is about as much if not more than anybody in hip hop history now, and the consistency is there, and I'm getting better with time. I've recently made an album with 2 legends from Chicago that I grew up listening to. I came up being inspired by Juice and Capital D of All Natural. They formed a group. 2 of the greatest hip hop artists ever from Chicago have formed a group today. It's called Calisthenics because they both live in Cali now. Juice is a resident of LA and Chicago all throughout his youth and adulthood. And Capital D lives in Oakland because he's a legal advisor for the Golden State Warriors. So he's not just a musician, he's also an attorney. So he wanted to make a group with Juice, one of the other great artists of all time from Chicago, and he heard my Bandcamp, and he called me and asked me to produce it. So I produced it, and it's going to come out this year. It's called the 30-Minute Workout. They just released their first album, and then the project that I produced is coming out next. So a big shout out to Juice and
That
Capital
sounds
D of All
hard.
Natural.
That sounds like you gotta keep moving in that project. Like you gotta.
Well, it's one of my greatest accomplishments so far, but my dreams come true every day, so it's hard to call any of my greatest accomplishment. That might be universally known as my greatest accomplishment so far, but I've really had a lot of blessings and honors that I've made with you and other guys that aren't as known as that, memories that I've made with that just show me that I'm doing the right thing, that I'm gonna be remembered the way I want to be remembered when I'm gone. And so big shout out to those guys. But this is an evolution. None of this is a plan. I never knew when I grew up I was going to be a DJ. I was just a DJ growing up. I never thought to myself, I'm going to be a DJ one day. I was like always a DJ. People say, what are you? You a B-boy and MC, a DJ? I was like, I've been dancing since 81, and I've been rapping since 85, but I'm really a DJ since birth. I know all the records. I have all the records. I've collected all my life. I have them all in alphabetical order. I know every song to every record that I own. I know when the guy starts rapping and when stops rapping on the record. I know when to mix the next record in. I know who's making the good new shit. I know who's not.
Well, I know for a fact that, when I was growing up, when someone needed a dope DJ at their in-store or they needed support for a live performance, they would hit up AC, the program director.
Thank you, brother. I'm glad to be remembered by that way by some people. I know that all the work I paid back then was all dues that were and I was laying my path. I was creating my legacy. And people used to always tell me back then, AC, you're everywhere. And since 2006, when I opened up my store in Long Beach, I haven't been everywhere. I created a place where people can come find me. But people still tell me, you're everywhere, AC. So all that footwork, all that 60,000 driving miles a year that I did between 1991 and 2006, that's a long time. And it paid off. It paid off in ways that are worth more than money and fame can ever be. I wouldn't trade anything about the way I'm going to be remembered in for any kind of money or fame. And recording an album with artists like Juice and Capital D is a great example of why I wouldn't trade it in.
Now, I'm curious on your opinion on someone like Static Selector, because as soon as I mentioned his name, you obviously have differences with, I believe, his style
No.
Just give me a little bit of background on that.
Okay, well, I was very in touch aware with him when I started my radio show. I would listen to every project he would put out, and I would notice there would be like one or two dope songs on it. And then when I told him that one time, he got real offended and real like, he got real like, who the fuck are you? You know what I'm saying? And then I noticed he was doing this. It became a pattern for like over 10 years of him putting out really whack projects with maybe one or two dope beats on it. And those one or two dope beats might be as great as any beat that was ever made. I gotta give him that. Same with Ninth Wonder. 1 out of every 50 beats he might be as great as any beat I ever heard.
Oh,
I might like it as much as any beat I ever made, but the other 49 are like a slap in my face. What the fuck? How did this happen? Like, this shit is garbage, trash, toy. Same with Alchemist. Like 9 out of 10 beats, I'm gonna skip instantly. Like, how could you sell this and call this hip hop? How could you sell this and call yourself not a rip-off artist? That one beat might be dope. That beat may be dope, but your batting average is telling the truth. Your batting average is everything.
Yeah, but do you expect every artist out there to push out dope shit all the time? Or do you know of artists that push out dope shit all the time?
I expect when I buy a mixtape or an album that I don't want to skip more than half of it. If I want to skip more than half of it, this artist is ripping me off. This artist does not know what they're doing. It is about creating a long play experience that is not a ripoff. That doesn't make anybody feel like they wasted their time and their money.
Stop ripping the motherfucking fans off.
And if I did not have a huge collection of examples of the opposite of a ripoff project, I would have nothing to stand on. But I have a huge collection of albums, mixtapes that I didn't make, and a huge collection of albums and mixtapes that I make that will not be a ripoff, a waste of time of money to anybody. If they spend their time, and it's reputable, you could do your math, do the math and the history on it. Go push play on any mix I ever made or any album that's in my collection on my wall in my record store that's on sale for a high price, and you will not want to skip more than 1 or 2 songs on it. And this is the math. And also, all the music on those albums that will make people dance. All the music on these albums will make people dance. There's nothing almost all any of these albums or mixtapes that I call classics that I can listen to from beginning to end that will not make people dance. With very, very, very few exceptions, because there's exceptions to every rule, but this is pretty much math. When you play the music, if 2 B-boys that never heard it before hear it together at the same time, no matter where they are, they're gonna get down and they're gonna battle. And this is what hip-hop music does. This is the math. 1 + 1 = 2. Hip-hop music plus 2 B-boys that never heard the song together at the same time, hearing the music together for the first time through loudspeakers, getting down will happen.
You were saying, you were on the ride, you were saying that it's like combat. Hip-hop is like combat sports.
Well, hip-hop is like martial arts. Hip-hop is a fine art that's about staying fresh, ahead of the times, changing the times, not changing with the times. It's not following trends. It's not doing what everybody else is doing. You're doing what everybody's going to be doing in the future because seen nobody do that shit before. So when you do it, it's fresh, and then the masses are like, oh, that shit is too unfamiliar for me. It doesn't feel familiar. It's not catchy. So they don't catch on to it till later. Then when it becomes catchy and familiar enough to them, they realize how great it becomes, and it becomes a collector's item. But there are people that know what a classic record is going to be before they know. Like when I did Jet on My Chick's first show in LA, most people were not really aware of how great Violent by Design was as an album. But I knew as soon as I heard it, this was a world-changing album. This album is going to change the world for the better. Not only hip hop, but the world. Anybody who hears that is going to get a world full of perspective that they never heard on a hip hop album. They were saying things in hip hop that nobody had ever said before. You know, I mean, if you take Just Allah's verse on Muerte, for example, he's like, I inhale toxins, drunk off blood from dead cops who be watching to kill us in this maze we're locked in. Sly Cobra Clutch, only cruel can sober us. Wild because we know there's no Jehovah watching over us. Over 10% that's controlling us, trying to take our soul from us, while they're steady controlling us, locking us in new areas, locking like pits and terriers, out to bury us. Just Allah, don't make threats. I'll leave your fucking neck slit. Have you speaking the manual alphabet. Seeing me as death, not repeated, is done twice. At last, as I cast the first stones of Christ, sends you to hate me, Satan, because you hate men. Like,
Hey, dog, shout out to Violent by Design. Honestly, I'm going to be honest with you, AC, the program director, like, that album changed my whole life, bro. Because, you know, I just was like, yo, who's this cat Vinny Paz? You know, and who's Just Allah? You know what I'm saying?
And Esoteric was killing it on that album.
Esoteric
Eric on that album, he said,
if I'm not mistaken, there was another MC that was on that project. If I'm not mistaken, was Virtuoso on that project?
Virtuoso was on one song on that project.
Okay, yeah, because he was one of the dopest MCs I've ever heard in my life.
He also came out for that show we did with People Under the Stairs for that.
And Sean Price was on that project too, right?
Sean Price.
And honestly, I have to admit, that was the first time I ever heard of Sean Price. I wasn't really into.
He was
that
on the single.
Scene.
He was on the single.
Yeah, but that was the first time I heard Sean Price on a record. It was on the Violent by Design.
Esoteric,
and then that got me into Duck Down and all that shit, you know?
Esoteric on that album said, I bark at these, mark and seize, park and freeze. My words part the seas, kill beats like heart disease.
Yo, shout out to Esoteric. You know, we were honored to host the first Czarface event in LA. You know, shout out to him. He's making, you know, a huge movement.
No, I'm a huge fan. I'm one of their biggest fans, but he hates me because I tell him like that they ruined Army of the Pharaohs, that they let Army of the Pharaohs go to hell, and that
Army of the Pharaohs.
You
said that to him?
Oh yeah, it's just the truth. Army of the Pharaohs went to shit after 2000. It just became a bunch of rap on whack beats, fake hip hop beats, bunch of egos rapping on fake hip hop beats.
What did he say like right after?
Huh?
Hey, you know what? That's coming from the AC program director. You know, he's a raw fan. You know, he wants that hard shit all day, every day.
I own Army of the Pharaohs records that I love. I'm not going to settle for less. If they start putting out less, I'm going to say, what the fuck? That's what I said, and he didn't like it. So he thinks I overestimate my importance in hip hop. That's his.
I really loved the Psychosocial album. But yeah, the Violent by Design was by far way better than that one, I think. It was just more revolutionary. It was more edgy.
If you're a real fan of them, you feel the greatness brewing on Psychosocial, but you feel where it peaked at Violent by Design and how that was the peak of it. But
I loved how they
I love the real Jedi Mind Tricks fans that heard Psychosocial first and they still hold that one as their favorite. I love those guys.
Yeah, you know, me growing up, I listened to that one after the Violent by Design because I was digging, you know. You know. I loved how they used that Ants sample. You know, there's that movie called Ants, and there was a dope sample that they used on there. It was Stoops, right? He was he the producer?
Stoops is the legendary producer of all the great Jedi Mind Trick stuff.
So, yeah, so that's the type of hard shit.
I love.
I would expect you're accustomed to.
I love Stoop. That's my brother right there.
So that's a cloth of hip hop that is gonna go in history as I think the golden era. I believe.
Well,
because there was a lot more other hip hop outside of that, right? Like
We
the
all have
whole
to-
West Coast scene. There was, Gangstar was big at that time.
We all have to get over this golden era myth. Hip hop is just brand new. Hip hop is not even 100 years old, and 100 years is not a long time. Hip hop is just starting still, and there is a world full of examples that show and prove. If I was never born, that hip hop only gets better with time, and that the number of artists that show and prove this grow with time, not as fast, not multiplying as fast and spreading as fast as the garbage, but the numbers grow in time the same. So the golden era never ended. It just evolves through different artists in different times in hip hop. But the golden era will never end unless there's never no more good new music being made. If that ever happens, then you could say hip hop is dead and the golden era ended. But as long as there's still great new hip hop music being made today, and it's more abundant than it ever was, then you cannot say the golden era ever ended. It never stopped. And I know a whole world of artists that I work with every day all over the world who prove this, who exemplify this. I didn't make this up. Dressar Monumental exists. The Deity Complex exists. Fillmore's Chill exists. Large Professor still exists. My man, John Q, EMS, Random, these guys exist. Solid Savage, the guys that I'm known to work, blessed to work with. Smooth B of Nice and Smooth. These guys exist, proving that the golden era never stopped, never will stop. And if hip hop is still alive.
So that's just a makeshift term, right? It's just a term that it's
just
marketed.
Just like underground.
Yep,
A
exactly.
trendy gimmick.
Yep.
A trendy gimmick.
Because ultimately, if it's dope, it's dope. If it's whack, it's whack. Doesn't matter if it comes from the East or West, right?
If it's fresh, it's dope. If it's not stale and it's not whack, it's dope. And there's a whole world of great new shit being made right now that hip hop deserves to be known for. Hip hop deserves to get credit for the artists that are making the amazing shit today, not the suckers who are making the imitation of hip hop.
Okay, so how do you feel about Dr. Dre? How do you feel about NWA? How do you feel about Dog
mainstream-
Pound or
mainstream
Snoop
hip-hop.
Dogg?
Dr. Dre earned his stripes. Dr. Dre did the work. From 87 to 93, there was almost nobody better than Dr. Dre. He earned his way into the Hall of Fame. He has a body of work that you can never erase or take away that is as great and as revolutionary and as evolutionary as almost anybody during his era. But after 93, he stopped reinventing his greatness.
Wait a minute, after 93?
Before 93, NWA's second.
But the Chronic 2001?
Chronic 2001 is a recycling of the Chronic style. It was not
the first Chronic.
Like the first Chronic was the reinvention of Dre, different than Above the Law, different than DOC's album, different than Easy Does It, different from Michelet's amazing first R&B album, which is very much a hip hop album. Even though it's
Michelet's
R&B,
first album,
her
yeah.
first album is a hip hop album. Very much a part of the hip hop movement, culture. Is a part of Dre in his prime. But JJ Fad is an example of a misstep, a mistake he made, a fault of his during his prime. He fucked up and thought that it was cool, a good idea to have these West Coast girls beef with Biz Markie and Roxanne Shante, make a record dissing them called JJ Fad, called Supersonic, which had a production style which was very much outdated by 1988. That style was an electro style of music that we used to break and pop to in the early 80s. But by the time LL Cool J, Eric B. and Rakim, Slick Rick, Public Enemy, NWA, King T came out, JJ Fad's Supersonic style of production was was a fake hip hop style. So everybody that fell in love with that song when it came out was considered suckers by hip hop fans.
Okay, so look, this is where I'm. Okay, so we mentioned Dre. Okay, Eminem, right? Now, before we move forward, Eminem.
Don't do it.
No.
Please don't
No,
do
no.
it.
The thing is,
Eminem was
I was aware of
Eminem is
Eminem before the whole Slim Shady shit because of Stax. There was a CD called The Infinite.
Yeah, Infinite
It was, I
album.
believe, his first record.
Yeah.
But-
That's how he got heard by Dr. Dre.
But what? 30 years
it's
later?
not.
No,
No, it's not.
no.
That's
Infinite?
20
That's
a
years
myth.
later.
That's a myth.
Dr. Dre is now saying he's the greatest MC of all time. Now.
Well, Dr. Dre fell off after 93, so whatever he says after 93 is mute. Dr. Dre cannot be taken for what he says after 93. He's a completely different person. He's not like KRS-One before at 95 and after 95. Two completely different people.
So you wouldn't agree that Eminem is the greatest of all time, like according to him and 50 Cent and
Well,
some
I think
other dudes.
50 Cent is not even a part of, never been, he was born whack.
Oh, come on now, don't say that.
Yeah, 50 Cent was
No,
born.
no, Prodak. I think 50 Cent's one of your favorite artists, right?
It is. It is.
50 Cent, 50 was born to make rap on whack beats, fake hip hop music, and be a part of the industry. He's not a part of the culture.
You know,
He's a
I'm not a
rapper.
bit. I'm
He's
not
a
a.
rapper.
Okay,
He's a rap culture. He's not a, he's not a
Prodak,
hip hop guy. He's not a hip hop guy.
I'm not a 50 Cent fan. I never was. I think he's super mainstream. You know, I was into the whole Jedi Mind shit. You know what I'm saying?
It's rap on
But
whack
I
beats.
fuck with 50.
Right.
It's American music industry music, and I spell American and music with 3 Ks.
Okay, but I want to ask you: Is Eminem the greatest of all time?
Well, Eminem might be one of the greatest wastes of talent or the greatest waste of potential of all time, but that's debatable. But Eminem had a lot of potential before he met Dr. Dre.
The Slim Shady LP was.
The Slim Shady
hard.
EP was way better before Dre touched it. I was at the show. He opened up for Dale the Funky Homo Sapien in the late 90s, and he was throwing out the Slim Shady EP on cassette. My girl caught it, gave it to me. I listened to it, loved it. Like I remember driving home listening to Just the Two of Us, and I had a whack baby's mama who used to give me hell, so I was fucking hyped to hear Just the Two of Us.
Yeah.
But then when I met him that night, he told me, I just met Dre, and he's gonna redo the Slim Shady EP and make it into an LP. And I said, well, I hope that's a good thing because I haven't heard anything good from Dre since The Chronic. and I hope he gives you a classic album like he gave to Eazy-E, Above the Law, DOC, Michel'le, like he did for, letting Snoop be a part of the Chronic sound. He gave these artists their own style, their own sound. All these artists have different sounds. DOC has his own sound. It sounds nothing like Above the Law, who sounds nothing like Easy Does It, who sounds nothing like NWA's albums, who sounds nothing like The Chronic. This is Dre's legacy. Dre's legacy ends after that. Anything Dre did after that is whack. It's a recycling. It's music industry fuckery. It's a watered down lost soul making whack music for people who think that whack music is hip hop.
Kendrick Lamar.
He was born to make imitation hip hop. He cannot pick beats. He cannot make a good solid album. He has not the insight. He has not the musical.
Dude,
gift.
I
Section
can't,
80.
bro. I can't disagree. That's an underground hip hop head. That's a true underground hip hop head. Fuck all that mainstream bullshit.
Now, Eminem. Now, I told Eminem, I hope this is good for you. I hope Dre makes it is good for that. Now, the next year, the Slim Shady LP came out. Dre put synthesizer on it, made it real, watered it down, made it real soft compared to its original form. It was hard. It was raw. It was hip hop before Dre touched it. When Dre touched it, it became rap on whack beats, music industry sellout music. And 100% of everything the Dr. Dre or the Eminem has put out after he met Dre has been rap on whack beats, fake hip hop music.
Okay, so
He sold his soul, lost his soul.
I want to ask you the
Gave it away.
whole-
One more thing about Eminem. I saw him at the year after that show with Dell, and he was promoting the Slim Shady LP, and he was at the House of Blues this time, and every other word out of his mouth on stage all night was, "I gotta thank MTV for blowing up this Slim Shady shit." And I was in the crowd saying, "You dumb motherfucker, you owe it all to the Wake Up Show. The Wake Up Show made you famous. The Wake Up Show made you noticeable to Dr. Dre." But he was not remembering the people that made him famous.
I thought it was that Infinite album.
okay, so I'm
He was
taking
already
this,
lost. No.
So I'm taking this as a no. Like he's not the greatest of all time, right?
Oh, he's like not even top 200.
No, what the fuck is Eminem?
Come on, dude. You can't even compare to guys that made classic albums like Schoolie D. Too Short is better than Eminem. Too Short has more good music than Eminem ever will.
Okay, so that being said, me, I'm Mexican. We all know it's a black culture. But there's some dope white boys out there. Like I don't know. For me,
DJ Rob Swift, who's an
Okay.
African American or dark brown skinned brother of African descent, will tell you it's everybody's.
Okay, but when I was growing up as a kid, when people would ask me, yo, who are some dope white boys you listen to? I would be like the whole Anti-Con Clique, Atmosphere, Aesop Rock, Sage Francis. Those were the white boys I was into.
You can't be talking about hip-hop and talking about white and black.
When I know, but
It's
growing
not a part
up,
of it.
I know, but me growing up as a kid, that was force fed to us. Like, yo, it had to be divided. As I got older into the game, I found out, no, there is no color.
This is what we loved about hip hop is that we didn't have to play along with that game. We could not go along with that. We could say no. This brother gets respect because he's dope and he's fresh, no matter what his color or skin.
So when they would,
that's what hip hop was to us.
But when other friends would ask me, I would tell them the same shit. Hey, dog, it doesn't matter about color. It's dope. It's dope. But if you really want to know, some white boys that I'm listening to is these dudes. You know, and I thought the whole time like Eminem wasn't even like on par with like an Aesop Rock or Slug or Anti-Con or Sage Francis or Idea. You know what I'm saying?
Hip hop came from people like
typical cats.
Hip hop came from people like me who were able to see beyond race. Hip hop started by people like me who were able to see people beyond their skin color, for who they are as a person and what they're bringing, contributing to the environment and the artistic atmosphere beyond their demographic. The demographic was never a qualifier. Saying your demographic doesn't mean you get props. Now, only the people that don't get it.
They'll see that. The sheep in society that just don't get it.
The normal people.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
masses.
And underground heads, you know, they were running with a separate pack of homies, right? Prodak, like, you know, because we were into more subject matter shit. Like, color didn't matter.
Right.
Because remember, back in those days, there was no music videos. Like, I wasn't listening to Jana Mind Tricks and getting influenced by a music video. It was just
new.
They were just painting pictures
it.
in my head.
Right.
You know, when I was
Graffiti.
listening to Gangstar, I was like, yo, this is some dope shit.
Graffiti. You know what I'm saying? The streets.
But yeah, when sheep go up to you as a kid growing up, you know, well, if Eminem is not the greatest white boy, what white boys are you listening to? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, have you ever heard of the Beastie Boys? They were dope.
They were dope.
They were dope. And Third Base was dope when they were in their prime. Yeah, they fell off, and MC Search turned out to be a devil in disguise. But you know, they were dope where they came from the roots, and they fell far from the tree, but they came from the tree. So they were dope when they started. But there's all the other guys that are Caucasians that a lot of people don't know. Like
Eminem, the kid from Detroit that came out rapping. You seen the 8 Mile movie?
Yeah. See, Eminem came out making good music until he met Dr. Dre and became a part of the industry. The American, spelled with 3 Ks, music, spelled with 3 Ks, industry of imitation hip hop, rap on whack beats, music for suckers, music who think that rap on whack, people that think the rap on whack beats is hip hop music. That's what Eminem turned into an artist for.
When would you say that happened in the industry? Like, I know we're just talking about Eminem, but in the whole industry,
everybody happened at different times. Your artists stay in their prime for a certain amount of time, and then they get they either fall off or they maintain their soul.
Kanye West,
born whack.
Oh, Kanye what?
Born whack.
Kanye West.
He made a few dope beats in his lifetime. Very few.
He produced. He was a producer.
Yo, honestly, Prodak, I was never really into Kanye West at all, bro. The whole graduation, dog.
Garbage.
Bro, when the homies were trying to have me listen to that shit, I couldn't stand it, bro.
Fake hip hop. He's a fake dude who makes fake music for fake people. Fuck that dude. Let's talk about real musicians who make good albums.
But see, that's what I like, the differences, right? Like, everyone has their differences, right? Prodak, like you and AC,
sure.
you guys go way back.
Yeah.
You guys understand your differences.
No, I got mad respect for what
see,
he says.
There's something you can't break between me and this dude, and this is our bond, like our unconditional. It's like a family love, you know what I'm saying? Like, you love your little brother, no matter how different he is from you. You love your little brother, no matter how crazy or wild or different he is than you. You love him for who he is, and you don't judge him. Nothing can come between you and your brother.
I don't know if I have it on record somewhere, but I remember him telling me one time, he's like, man, the first time I liked auto-tune was on one of your songs. Probably.
Yeah, Prodak, you got to give him credit. He made one of the only 2 songs I've ever heard made with auto-tune that I could like.
And I was just fucking around with it, like just throwing it around.
Hey, there's exceptions to every rule. Like I said, I have a huge catalog of, not a huge catalog, but a large catalog of beats that I've made that I would call trap. Most people wouldn't hear it and call it trap because it's not whack. They think that horrible music that sounds like that with those kind of rhythms is trap, or But there's trap rhythms out there that are dope. It's not. You can make almost good music of almost any style. It's not about. It's all about who's doing it and the person that's doing it. If they can add enough original.
Do you watch Vlad TV?
Never. I can't say never because it's so widely shared and played. I think the dude is obviously an outsider. He's not of or for or about the culture. He's about exploiting it for his own notoriety, his own to gain fame.
For business, right?
Right, yeah. He's not a part. He's not able to keep up with the evolution of the culture and give credit to where it's due. Find and share the artists today who are making the culture better. Being the evolution of the culture. He's not able to see beyond what it is that makes artists who they're famous for who they are. He's a yes man. He'll play along. He'll pass the torch to somebody whack.
Okay,
because they're popular.
But this is what I've learned so far today. You sitting here, AC, that the majority of your outlook is based off of beats, dope beats.
Well, the beat is the beginning of the song. If the beginning of the song is whack, the raps are wasted. And the raps, like hip hop music is hip hop music without a rapper on it, without a scratch on it. It's the rhythm that's going to make the dance floor keep going or stop. If the rhythm is good enough to put a scratch on and to put a rap on, then that rap will become hip hop music, or that scratch will become a part of hip hop music. But that scratch, without a dope beat, without a fresh beat, is not going to keep the dance floor going. And that rap without a fresh beat is not going to keep the dance floor going. And this is what the music is. It's going to keep the dance floor going. No rapper can rap all night and keep a dance floor going. They need good music to go behind those raps. The rapper is the surfer. The wave is the water. A surfer cannot show how great of a surfer they are on a whack wave. They need a great surf to show how great of a surfer they are. They need a great wave to show how great they are at what they do. A great rapper needs great music to show how great they are of a lyricist, especially to showcase their greatness for a whole LP.
Hey, and that sounds so dope as fuck. But when you say shit like Alchemist is whack, it's like fuck Alchemist AC.
No, AC's not saying Alchemist is whack.
He said
he's
Alchemist
saying
was whack.
no.
He said
He's
Alchemist
not
was
saying
whack.
that. AC's not saying that.
Okay, check
AC
this out.
says
Check this
AC
out.
said, yo, some projects he put out or the majority project there was some dope
He
shit.
said 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10
are
beats.
whack.
But that one beat might be as good as almost any beat I ever heard.
Man.
But that one beat might be. So I'm giving him credit. I'm giving him credit.
Okay,
I'm
that's
giving
true.
him. I'm
That's
giving
true.
him credit.
That one track can be surpass
Right, but-
fucking thousands of tracks and shit.
Right.
Hey,
but
all that shit that he
but-
worked with Buck 50 with was dope as fuck, in my opinion.
Buck 50.
I won't say everything, but I give guys credit for they make solid projects.
But this was back in when? 2002, 2003 and shit? Like,
I see Buck 50 at the bus, fool. I see
and-
Buck 50 at the bus one day. I see Buck 50 at the bus one day. AC. He was
Alchemist has not got better with time. His consistency, his batting average is not getting higher. Respect to the brother.
But classics, though, the classics, the
I don't-
time, and the culture from here to New York. Like
I don't like all of his shit. There's a lot of shit that people are on the jock of that I skipped. That I thought was whack.
I have to admit though that DJ Muggs is fucking dope. I don't
DJ
know.
Muggs
Cypress
is
Hill.
Have you
DJ
listened to
He's
his
a
new
goddamn
projects?
I've listened. Yeah,
His new projects are full of almost nothing good. You might find one or two good things on
DJ
him.
Muggs.
One or two good.
I
His newest
can't
project.
disagree.
His new project was full of horrible shit, except for the one little thing, a snippet that lasted like 30 seconds, and I had to loop it up and make it last longer to enjoy it. But the rest of the album is a whole album of clusterfuck, what the fuck, rip off.
Oh, DJ.
Okay,
Muggs
so
is hard.
let me ask you, AC. Then
His Mayhem Lauren albums are horrible, except for one or two songs.
who are your top 3 hip hop producers? Then
the greatest of all time are Boogie Down Productions, Gangstar,
Oh,
and one more.
you got to give Riz a lot of credit. A lot of credit. A lot of
Wu-Tang, yep.
Riz had put out a lot of shit. He made a lot of classic, legendary stuff that changed the world, and he gets a lot of. But also does EPMD. EPMD made a whole lot about it, almost as much too, before they stopped making good music. But you got to give Large Professor the credit for outlasting all of them, and 45 King, rest in peace to that brother too.
You know how people consider Dre the GOAT of like mainstream hip hop, West Coast gangster rap shit? Like, I think Premier is the GOAT of like underground hip hop.
Well,
In my opinion.
Well, I think the Premier deserves all that credit until like 2005, but then he gets worse with time after that. And but I like to give a lot of credit to a lot of different people. You know, I like to not just give any credit to one person, but I like to hold people responsible for falling off and stop making good music, and give credit to the guys who they're still doing that or that are doing it now.
So can I ask you, okay, the term falling off, right? Now, do you feel like artists shouldn't fall off if they're giving you a product that you want to get fed, right? You just want to get fed,
well, I think
right?
the key to not falling off is making good new albums, you know? Not stopping to make good albums and then doing shows.
And then what? And just retire?
No. We keep making good new albums. Like Large Professors keep making good new music. I want to get every album that he puts out.
Shout out to Large Professor. He's a GOAT, man.
Yeah. And also there's other guys like him too that still do it today, like Phil Most Chill. And Jasaru Monumental, who makes everything good that MF Grimm put out after 2010. And then there's the Deity Complex, who produced the great music for Mankind that they've made, and everything that a lot of things the products that he puts out. I'm looking at the Dion Brown in Chicago, who puts out a lot of great production. There's a lot of great producers today that aren't getting Edon and Insight. Insight and Edon are the kings of hip hop, of what people would call underground hip hop. After KRS One and Nas fell off in '97, Insight and Edon are the best, the kings of hip hop after Insight and Edon fell off. Most of the world doesn't know that they are, but they are the most consistently reliable, productive artists since the late 90s to now. And also J-Zone too, although he had a lull between 2000 and 2010. After 2010, he's come back strong and reestablished himself as one of the greatest who ever did it. One of the realest Hall of Famers of hip hop's modern day history. Proving that the golden era never ended. J-Zone.
Hell yeah.
You know, and then
Testament to the time.
Yeah.
Been here.
And there's a lot of artists that keep coming into my picture that I'm surrounding with every week, like Solid Savage, a.k.a. Haven AQ, and EMS, and
Shout out EMS, homie.
John Q. Random.
John Q, I seen him live, man, outside the Gumbo Boys.
My brother, Mr. Sick. You're going to be learning a lot about Mr. Sick that I work with a lot these days. And this is just a whole world of great artists that, shout out to Eddie Medina, MC Wire, one of the best Espanol rappers that I've ever been around. Boyle Heights Collective. Shout out to all the rappers that come around and put themselves in my picture, that stay in my picture, that don't change faces and turn into two-faced. Here today, gone tomorrow, guys. There's a lot of people, remember this, a lot of people coming and going like a hoe who loves hoeing.
Yo, man, we could go all day with AC, the program director, right,
yeah.
Prodak?
Hell yeah.
It's an honor to have you sit here. We have fans, commenting,
One guy asked
Shout
me,
out to Anthony. Shout out to Lance.
I see Anthony. What's up, Anthony? What about Necro Production? Before 94, he had a very high batting average. Since 94, his batting average went from like over 900 to well below 100.
Whoa.
Way below 100.
That's low.
Oh, yeah. He shamefully made a horrible album with nothing on it for Cool G Rap, one of the
But you
greatest
have
of
to
all
admit
time.
the I Need Drugs and the Gory Days.
Yeah.
And a few other joints were just super dope.
Before he lost his soul and became and evolved into the devil that he is. But before he
Whoa! I think that's taking it too far.
That's
the brother.
Now, can I ask you? Okay, the devil. Like, what's going on with that? Because to me, like, I consider Necro one of the top underground producers in the game. I love his beats.
I would do that before
and his
2004.
lyrics are dope too.
Before 2004, I would agree.
Like when it comes to death rap, horrorcore hip hop, he's one of those dudes that are if not on the top.
Death rap ain't worth shit if you ain't got dope beats, and he had dope beats before 2004. That's what made his gimmick not so forgettable.
Necro fell off?
But after Necro fell off hard after 2004. The whole psychosocial family fell off. They haven't made anything worth buying or listening to after 2004. There are huge wastes of time and money after 2004. But before that, they had some dope roots. They came from the family tree, from the roots of hip hop, but they fell off, lost their soul, and became devils to their original core audience, the real original fans. They don't even relate to them. The dude set me up and stole $2,000 from me, scammed me for my credit card number.
What the fuck?
For unreleased nonfiction music that they never sent me. Instead, they just charged my credit card 2 times for $1,000. And I just called my bank and let them know. But hey, these guys are dirty. These guys are rats. And so they're really, they had their time before 2004, but after 2004. Time has told that they weren't here to stay. They're not here to stay. They were coming and going. They've been gone since 2004. Their hip hop history relevance ends in 2004. Dead since then. Nothing. It lives on through others now.
That's crazy.
Not them.
Okay, well, branding. Let's talk about branding, AC. So you come from an era of just rubbing elbows with the best of the best rhymers, producers, but then to create a Gangstar brand logo, right? Like, I was fortunate enough to be a tour manager for Necro 2015. We went all across the country in the West Coast, and I noticed, people loved his brand, the Necro logo, and like Souls of Mischief, the logo, hieroglyphics, the logo. Like, it's one thing to put out music, right? But I think it's a whole other thing when you start branding it, right? Like nonfiction, they have that sick logo.
We're talking about business, and we're talking
exactly.
about making music. There's two different things. You're going to make a lot of good music and do a lot of good business, or you're going to make a lot of good business music and do a lot of bad business, or you're going to make a lot of whack music and do a lot of good business, or make a lot of whack music and do a lot of bad business. There's all spectrums of different kinds of artists out there, but I don't give a fuck about anybody if they're not making good music. Branding doesn't mean shit if it's not built on a legacy of good music. You're saying you have to have something to back up that. You can't just put it out there as like it's worth a lot of money, but have a bunch of whack music behind it, and then actually the brand is worth anything.
So the homie Lance right here says DJ Muggs' earlier shit was dope. Yeah, he has another cat.
Muggs is a legend. His Cypress Hill albums, all the music that he did before 95, before Soul Assassins 2. Soul Assassins 2 is when his consistency started to go a lot lower. His batting average became a lot lower after Soul Assassins 1. Soul Assassins 1 was dope. Soul Assassins 2 was horribly inconsistent. And every album he makes after that is horribly inconsistent. And everybody who calls himself a fan after that, who will not say this, who will not call him out for his batting average falling from like above 900 to below 100 after Soul Assassins 2, these are yes man groupies, blood-sucking vampires. They're worst enemies, not real fans. Real fans will say, yo, you used to bat 900, now you bat less than 100. Well, how'd that happen? Their fake fans will say, you're still as great, you're still the best that ever did it, you're still as great as you ever were. One is hip-hop and one is the disease eating hip-hop. One culture is hip-hop. The hip-hop culture will say, yo, you're a legend, but you fell off. You're not doing it no more for us. You're making music for other people most of the time now. Now your albums are a waste of our time. You're ripping us off. When you used to make classic albums that I could listen to all the way through, now you're making rip-off albums for suckers who think that this whack shit you're making is hip-hop. This is hip-hop.
But a lot of legends, when they perform a lot of their classic shit.
This is stale.
Yeah.
Their real fans don't want to see them perform the same songs over and over again. They want to see them perform the songs that were dope, that they know about, that didn't never get performed before.
Right.
And then you go to the show and you're mad because they didn't do your favorite songs. I'm pissed as fuck. I never liked the KRS-One show because he never does the songs I wanted anymore after 95. He does the same shit every time now. Before 95, he had a dope album every year, did a different set every year, had the best sets, the best shows, the best new albums every year. But after 95, all of his shows are the same. And his new music is whack. And the old music, and he won't break out an old song from his old albums that you never seen him perform. And if he does, he'll do half of the first verse as if that's enough, as if you're not going to be mad as fuck.
He's a legend.
I think that's...
I have BDP tattooed on my right arm. I'm the bigger fan. I'm the bigger fan than anybody, but a real fan is not going to celebrate their demise. When they stop making fresh new music or doing fresh shows, they're not going to be like, oh, he's still the greatest that ever did it. No. Yeah, he's still the greatest that ever did it, but he's not the greatest doing it today. He's not one of the best since 95. Since 95, his albums are whack, and especially after 97, KRS-One, and his shows are stale. He's not the same person. Before 95, he was a different person. And his right-hand man, Willie D, told me this in 95, before I wanted to believe it, before I would ever possibly believe that it was true. His right-hand man told me, it's over, AC. His wife is Christian. He's not married to Miss Melody no more. And she changed him. He's not the same person no more. It's over, AC. And I was like, I didn't want to believe him. And I believed that I could help KRS-One and that KRS-One would never fall off. But after 97, when he released Sneak Attack, after I Got Next, it was horrible. Then Spiritual Minded, then Keep Right. That was it. I knew it was over after Keep Right. I was like, oh. And he told me, I said, why don't you make music for us no more, AC? He said, I don't care about hip-hop music anymore. When I cared about hip-hop music, nobody bought my albums. So now my only concern is hip-hop beyond entertainment, the lifestyle. And I said, that is a gimmick. And your records sound like gimmicks after 97. You used to have the brand new funk, fresh new music, new hit single every year, and your shows were all different, and you had fresh, good new music. That's the backbone of hip-hop, fresh, good new music, not the lifestyle, not the gimmick. And he said, I disagree, AC. And I said, well, we have to agree to disagree. And we went our separate ways. So now I don't work with KRS-One. I work with legends that are just as important to hip-hop as he is, who understand me and don't treat me like I'm their enemy because I don't kiss their ass or ride their bandwagon and act like they can do no wrong just because they're a hip-hop legend, one of the greatest of all time. I have BDP tattooed on my right arm since 95. Doesn't change the fact that I am his friend, not his yes man. I would never act like a legend can do no wrong because of all the great shit they did. If they're doing wrong, Ice Cube fell off in 94, made whack side connections, stabbed his supporters in the East Coast in the back, acted like they never existed, like they didn't matter when they made his first album, his first album, one of the greatest albums of all time. The East Coast gave him that. When he turned around and said, oh, the East Coast don't play our music, man, you dumb motherfucker. Real motherfuckers on any coast is gonna play your shit if you're making dope shit. But if you're making whack side connection, nobody's gonna play that whack shit. Fake hip hop shit, talking about East versus West Coast. You stupid for that shit. You shot yourself in the foot with that one, bro. Saying now you're done. Now they know. Everybody knows that your dopeness didn't come from you. It came from Dre in his prime. It came from the Bomb Squad in their prime. It came from the Lynch Mob when they made great music. After your producers that made your greatest music stop making your music, you suck. Time told on Ice Cube. It wasn't him. It was the people that surrounded him that made him sound so great. He was great at picking his music, and the people that surrounded him for a while.
He started making movies and shit or some shit like that.
He was great at picking his company.
Hollywood in terms
Ice Cube was great at picking his company until around 92, 93, 94. Then it just started to slip and go into a dark ages. It's horrible. Of no good music. Ice Cube has made zero good music since Predator. Since Lethal Injection, I mean.
A lot of up and coming MCs tune in to these YouTube streams, email us for promotion and stuff. Just soak in this game from AC, the program director, guys. Like he's been in the game. All he's asking is for, I would assume, any new up and coming artist, just put out dope shit.
Standard. There's a standard.
And if you can't, find and share the people who are doing it, because there's a whole world of them. They're not gone. It's not dead. It's not extinct. There's a whole world of great music-making artists who deserve to be known for what hip-hop is today, and hip-hop deserves to be known for what these artists are doing. So when you're out there faking the funk, putting out whack, rip-off albums, and claiming that you're the new generation of hip-hop, when there's a whole bunch of artists who ain't doing that, you're funk-faking, you're vulturing. This is what we use these words for. You're either making good, dope, new albums, or you're supporting people who make them, or you're faking the funk. You're the enemy of the culture. I don't give a fuck how much you like your homie and how good you think he raps. If his album is whack and I skip more than half of it, he's faking the funk. You know what I'm saying? You're supporting fake hip hop. Saying do yourself a favor and
don't support fake fucking underground hip hop, dog.
Find the people that are making good new music and share it. If you want to call yourself a fan of the culture,
It's levels. It's a standard. they have set a plateau of this fucking.
The standards get better
You know
with
what I'm
time,
saying?
and we didn't create these standards. We didn't make it up. And all the artists that manifest and personify and exemplify the standards that make hip hop better today would exist if we were never born. So you can
So-
say it's just our opinion, but all the music I find and share on Hip Hop Philosophy Radio would exist if I was never born. And also, I want to say this: my radio stations and mixes, my playlists were highly sought after, but now you can have them. You can join my digital record pool and get everything I play, which is 4 new mixes per month at least, full of amazing new hip hop music that you never heard before.
Okay, so I want to ask you about this. You just posted on Instagram. Real hip hop fans ain't listening to Kendrick or Cole music. We instantly identify them and their fans as the opposite enemy of hip hop.
Slash enemy of hip hop. Yeah.
When I read that, I couldn't agree with you more, bro. But can you break down why you're putting this up and like what's the whole reasoning behind
It's
this?
the same thing when like Supersonic blew up from JJ Fad. I heard the song like 6 months to a year before it came out and knew that it was going to blow up, and I was already mad about it. I knew a whole bunch of suckers was going to think that was hip hop, and when it wasn't. So same thing with when I hear artists like J. Cole or Kendrick Lamar, and I hear people talking about, I hear the buzz about it. I go do my homework, and I find the truth. Are they faking the funk, or are they not faking the funk? Are they putting out albums that are going to waste my time and money, or are they making albums that are worth my time and money, like all the artists that I find and share on my radio show every week? And I found that these artists were faking the funk. They were not making hip hop. They were making imitation hip hop, what I call rap on whack beats. Music way below the standards of the artists who are making hip hop today. Below the standards of people who are making hip hop in '86 even. Like Ultramagnetic MCs and Boogie Down Productions and Public Enemy were making music in '86 that was, Marley Marl was making music in '86 that's beyond the level of these suckers making money off of fake hip hop, rap on whack beats, watered down bubblegum rap music.
But how have
Toy
they
Hop.
How have they reached that level of success though? Like
Well,
how-
Prodak, remember you came into the office, you were like, yo, have you heard that Kendrick shit?
The masses love garbage. Time is told, the masses gravitate to garbage. They don't gravitate to hip hop. They gravitate to the imitation of hip hop, the recycling, the regurgitation of styles that are catchy, that sound familiar, sound like something that they know already. This is the normal person. They feel comfortable with sounds that are familiar.
Did you hear the Kendrick Lamar verse though on the
Fresh
on that
is
song?
different. Fresh is different, but you're talking about the song that had the
With Future,
the everlasting bass beat.
something like that. And then
it has the Rodney O, Joe Cooley beat, right? Yeah, they just stole the beat from Rodney O and Joe Cooley. Biting is not hip hop. Anybody who hears that and doesn't know that they're biting that beat from Rodney O and Joe Cooley is fake hip hop. If you like the fact that they're stealing this old beat, they didn't even change it. They did nothing to it. Just,
I'm not too
they
sure.
stole the beat, everlasting bass beat from Rodney O and Joe Cooley, and that beat was dope when it came out, but it got played out and stale very fast. When there's a whole world of great Rodney O and Joe Cooley songs that didn't get played out and stale. They go out and they steal and recycle a classic Rodney O and Joe Cooley beat. I'm saying, like, rest in peace to my brother General Jeff, a real hip hop legend from LA. They don't have a monument for him in that fake hip hop till infinity museum in Hollywood. They have monuments for fake hip hop artists who died, but they don't have real hip hop artists, legends from LA who died in that fake hip hop till infinity museum.
The minute AC, I couldn't agree with you more, man. The minute I saw the whole gimmick behind the hip hop till infinity or whatever the fuck they were calling it, I was disgusted, man.
You walk into the first room after the first room. The first room is cool because they have like a lot of old school memorabilia shit in there. But then you walk into the first big ass museum room that has portraits of hip hop legends all over it. And the first two legends you see belong there. But the third legend you see when you walk into this room is Rick Ross.
Oh.
Look, anybody who sees this and doesn't go, oh shit, this whole shit is whack. You're faking it. You're not a hip hop fan. You're you're not able to relate to hip hop culture. If you don't see this picture of Rick Ross hanging in this gallery that does not contain a picture of MF Doom anywhere in it, we have a problem with you. Hip hop has a problem with you. You are a problem for hip hop. If you walk into a hip hop museum and you see pictures of Missy Elliott, but you don't see a picture of Roxanne Shante, and you don't see a problem with
Was there a
this.
picture of Guru in there at least?
I don't remember, but I seen a picture of Schoolboy Q in there. which is fake hip hop.
Did you see a picture of DJ Premier in there?
I can't remember because I've seen so much whack shit. And then
It's crazy.
I'm also hearing nothing coming out of the speakers except for stale, played out classics and fake new hip hop. Fake hip hop coming out of the speakers. They don't play any hip hop. It's all stale, played out shit, classics, which is cheating. It's not hip hop when you go to a place and you hear a stale, played out classic that you've heard a million times before that everybody already knows, like Engine number 9. You know that's a sucker DJ playing that record.
Did they at least have some Souls of Mischief in there? Because I think they just bit the name off of one of their tracks, right?
Well, but I would. That's another this group that has a whole catalog of amazing music that didn't get played out. I never want to hear 93 Till Infinity again. I only want to hear the songs that didn't get played out from that group. If you can't find and share the great music from these artists, other than passing me by, get the fuck off the set. Don't fucking try to act like a DJ, and definitely don't try to hire this sucker DJ and pass your show off as a hip hop event. If you throw a hip hop show and
Are
you're
you talking
DJ,
about Farside?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about Passing Me By or 93 Till Infinity or Come Clean or MCs Act Like They Don't Know or Try by 12. Any of these played out 12-inch singles like Scenario.
The songs that went commercial. The
Yeah.
songs
Yeah.
that went,
If you are having a hip hop show and the so-called DJ is playing this show, that DJ is a sucker DJ and your show is a fake hip hop show. Period. Everybody should know this should be universal hip hop sense. If this ever goes down at a hip hop show, everybody in the show should be upset, booing that DJ off the stage and calling out that promoter for faking the funk, for making a mockery of the culture.
yeah,
That's some real shit, man.
That's some facts, bro. It's real shit. And I know you probably like, cause you be saying a lot of shit like on Instagram and you the way you feel about hip hop can come off as like to some people could get offended because they're so like, oh no, what did you just say about Kendrick? Oh, what did you say about so and so? It's like. Have you ever had like any lose fucking friends? I don't know. You talk about it all the time. And shit.
I don't lose friends. I lose bridges that aren't stable, that aren't safe for me to be walking on and trying to move forward on. I lose a lot of the bridges, you know what I'm saying? And I don't regret losing any bridges because a lot of bridges aren't safe on. I see problems in the future coming in that I don't want to be a part of, so I'll avoid those bridges. But I've had really good moments of truth, of transcending things like that could possibly happen. For example, a real OG, Lamert Park OG, told me that if he didn't know me and hadn't experienced with me the love and the services that I provide in the community, that he would want to fight me over my opinions on Kendrick Lamar.
Oh shit!
But he knows me well enough to know that I'm not coming from a place of hate or ignorance. That I've actually have the legs to stand on. Despite anything that might relate to the culture relating to skin color or history. I have the experience. I have the knowledge. I have all the legs to stand on to compare certain legends of today to other guys who are not really legends. There are legends of today that deserve to be known as legends of today, like Dressar Monumental, like the Deity Complex, like Dion Brown, and the MCs, a lot of rappers that I fucking work with.
But even like old school names, like I'm even scared to ask who, like Tupac. Like, how do you feel about Tupac?
Well,
Like,
Tupac is a great example of an artist like Biggie, who wanted to be a part of the industry and the culture at the same time. They didn't realize that the culture and the industry are the enemies of each other, the opposites. So they sacrifice a lot of their cultural potential. They could have made 5 classic solid albums like Guru did before they died, but they made albums that I skip most of. I might like 1 or 2 songs on most of their albums, but they also went off the grid and made a lot of music that weren't on their albums that I liked. So I give them credit for what they did and their contribution, but I also hold them responsible for underachieving, for selling out to a certain point. For not
trying to go mainstream,
for not allowing themselves to fulfill their potential. Yeah, playing the game instead of staying loyal to the culture and instead of not being wise enough to recognize the difference between the culture and the game or the culture and the industry. Saying not to see the differences, see them as different, as enemies, as opposites. This is a problem. This has infected 99.9% of anybody who's ever got touched by a little bit of money or fame from arts and culture. Most of them have all
So that's what's today. That's what I'm saying. That you go mainstream or underground.
Well, you don't
know what I'm saying?
aim
Which
for
is-
either one. You just try to make the best album that you can, and the goal, the minimum is like you really want to reach that 5 album solid album catalog. You're saying you really want to reach that. Like that's the minimum. When I saw Gangstar and Boogie Down Productions put out 5 solid classic albums that I don't want to skip more than one song on. This is it. This is what makes them the best of all time. This is what makes Guru or RZA so legendary. You know what I'm saying? Old Dirty Bastard's first album, RZA's first, Raekwon's first album, Jizz's first album. These are just solid albums. You know, Ghostface's second album. These are albums, a lot of great solid albums that I don't want to skip more than 1 or 2 songs on. So this is what you want to shoot for. You want to shoot for solid, consistent albums that don't rip people off. And this is how you earn your place into infinite hip-hop legendary status. Putting out projects that don't warm people off. And then if you want to stay relevant to that crowd, keep putting it out and keep doing new shows. Travel and do shows and do new songs every time you perform. Don't do the same shit. Don't do what Percy P does. If you want to stay in demand and stay getting big winning for shows, don't keep doing the same songs over and over again for your fans and for the people that don't know who you are. Keep coming out with good new music and keep being willing and able to give them good new music so they stay interested in for you for.
Shout out to Percy P's, the OG, a real OG in the game.
Well, Percy, I'm not disrespecting him because he's one of my best friends, and I'm loyal to him, and I love him, and I call him one of the greatest hip hop role models in history. One of the most loyal, consistent, reliable people in the history of the culture. One of the greatest role models for MCs in hip hop history. But his catalog, he's not as consistent. He doesn't put out as much music. He doesn't create as much new music, and when he does songs, he does the same shit, and that's a no-no. When your songs, your real fans come to your shows, they don't want to hear the same shit, motherfuckers. Learn this fucking lesson. Your real fans don't want to hear the same shit over and over again. That's not what fucking hip hop is about. That's the enemy of hip hop. Stop fucking feeding this fake hip hop culture gimmick of doing the same shit, recycling catchy shit. That's fake hip hop. That's not fresh. That's stale. Get this to your thick fucking heads.
Man, that's some real shit, Prodak.
Yeah.
Like I said, man, we could go all day with AC, the program director. It's an honor for you to sit here with us, man. Like I said, man, I've been knowing of you since I was a kid, you know, and it's dope that, you know, you still have your core principles.
Check this out. I get dismissed by like guys like Harris when they don't want to fuck with me. You know what I'm saying? And then I get embraced by other legends that you can look through my catalog and see I made a lot of good music with that are as equal as Karis One, like Smooth B. And then I've fucked with guys like Chuck Freeze, and I'm making a new album with Prince Whip from the Fantastic Romantic Five, Grand Western Theater's original group. You know, I worked with Chuck Freeze from the Jazzy Five MCs, the original hip hop group. First time to Tommy Boy in 1980. He was a great soul brother of mine. But I also met Kool Herc, and he met me through a business contact from a networking dude who introduced Kool Herc to me as the king of West Coast LA mixtape DJs, and told him that I do shows in LA. Kool Herc reached out to me, wanted to do shows with me. Also another guy on the same level, not the same level, but in the same vein of the conversation, Merce is another guy who reached out to me when we were doing shows in Pomona and wanted to do shows with the Third Place family at Taco Nazo, and I put him on stage. And but he told me one day, AC, come on, man, fuck hip hop, let's get this money. Kool Herc called me, AC. He used to call me on my birthday and Christmas every year, and I told him because he knew I did shows and he wanted to do a show with me, and I told him I did small shows. And I got small crowds, and I could probably pay you like $500 at the most. He said, no problem, AC. Whatever you got, I'm going to do it with you. I said, all right, cool. So when I got Beef Rhymes and Laughs going in Chinatown every Wednesday night, I called him. I let him know, Herc, I got the Wednesday nights going for you. So when you're in LA, I got that $500 for you to spend. He said, nah, I told you $5,000, AC. I said, nah, I said, no, you didn't. You told me $500. He said, no, AC, I told you $5,000. I said, no, you didn't, bro. I told you I had small shows, and you told me no problem. You will do it for $500. He said, listen to me, AC. You need to get a hold of the game and tell this game that you want to do a show with Kool Herc and the Game in LA. And if you do a show with Kool Herc and the Game in LA, you can pay him his $15,000, you can pay me $5,000, and you can make some money too, AC. And I said, oh, Herc, I thought you knew me better than that. I could never do a show with the Game. I would lose all the respect I've earned in this culture since 1981 to now in my community. He said, listen to me, AC, fuck hip-hop, let's get this money. I said, oh, Herc, I thought you knew me better, bro. Okay, fuck hip-hop. But I'm not going to be remembered for doing anything whack. To me, hip-hop ain't doing some shit whack. Doing shit with some shit, you know what I'm saying? Whatever, with or without the word hip-hop in the dictionary.
That was whack.
I'm not going to be remembered for doing a show with the Game, ever. No matter how much money I can get paid to make off of that shit. And he hung up, very soon after that. Said, thanks, AC, peace. And I never heard from him again. So let me tell you about people that are coming and going from the culture. A lot of people get ate up by the industry and the lifestyle, the music, the movement around the world, the gimmick.
The flashy shit.
The people that make good new music today, who find and share good new music today, are the same as the people who are finding the great new graffiti artists and sharing them today. And the people that are finding, the DJs that are finding the great new music today and sharing the great new music today are the hip-hop DJs. These are the people of the culture. The people that are finding and sharing the great new evolution of the culture are where the culture is at. 99% of the culture is not doing that. 99% of the people who think they love, live, and support the culture and are of the culture are not finding and sharing the people who are making it better, that prove that the golden era never ended. So you got to really be wise about how you pick your company and how you pick your music and how you pick your food. You got to get better with it at time and age, because that's what hip-hop is about, getting better, staying fresh, not getting stale, and not conforming to the norm, to the masses of the majority, not going along with what everybody's doing, rising above that and standing out regardless of that.
Calling on all new underground hip hop heads, dude. This is a super dope exclusive, right, Prodak?
Hell yeah, fool.
You know,
It's a one in a chance to, like, you don't get to do these opportunities to sit down with fucking AC, the program director, and talk some hip hop shit, fool.
right.
You know, it's
So
like-
look, guys, undergroundhiphopblog.com. Make sure you guys share the video, leave a comment, like the video, go to our website, subscribe to our newsletter. We're going to be announcing a few concerts in the next coming months. We're going to be doing some ticket giveaways as well to some up and coming concerts from like other promoters and stuff. And if you're an artist, here's some gems right here, man. Put this on replay. AC, the program director, is definitely an OG.
My record store.
He's seen it all. The radio station, or where can people follow you?
All right, I run my radio station out of my record store. I own a record store called Hip Hop Philosophy Records that just recently moved from 1035 Venice Boulevard in Pico Union to 1049 Venice Boulevard in Pico Union, right across the street from the world-famous Graph Lab. It's a big shout-out to Ricky and the Graph Lab for being such good new hosts to the radio station and the record store. And all the people in Pico Union, like the TUS family and Solid Savage, that looked out for me for the past 9 years out there in Pico Union. Hip Hop Philosophy Record Store is the only 24-hour record store in LA. We work by appointment only, and you can find records there that you can't find anywhere in any other record store in LA or in the world, for that matter. I import records from all over the world every day that you can't find anywhere else. And this is the real hip-hop museum in L.A., not that fake hip-hop till infinity museum.
Yeah, man.
Yo, I can't agree with you more, man. That fake-ass museum out there is a joke. Man.
We're calling you out. If you went there and you shared it on your social media as if it wasn't whack, we're calling you out. You got caught out there.
How much were they charging for those tickets?
I don't know, like $10 or something. I don't know. People call me and they're like, yo, I'm sorry you paid your money for that, but that you might want to get a refund because you're going to walk in and see a picture of Rick Ross. And if you ain't mad about that, then that's a problem.
Yo, again, AC, the program director, Prodak. Any last words?
Good one. It was a good one. Thank you for coming in, man. I know that, You were watching some UFC and shit. You still watching that motherfucker?
I am, but I haven't been able to focus on it. Max Holloway's fighting Gaethje right now, and it looks like he's actually outpointing Gaethje, dominating from my peripheral vision. But can't really came to a conclusion on it. But it looks like Holloway's shocking the world right now. Gonna beat Gaethje. Gonna take the BMF belt from Gaethje.
Hell yeah,
Yo.
AC, man.
This is amazing. It's fucking amazing when I'm watching here. I never seen Gaethje get like outboxed like this, because he's a killer. The dude is a Terminator in his own right. But and Max has been thought to have been in the twilight of his career on this downward spiral. But he is. I mean, if you know the man and seen what kind of father he is, and how serious he takes this martial art, you see why he's getting better with time and age, and that's why I see such a commonality between martial arts and hip hop.
So what's the website to the radio station?
HipHopPhilosophy.com.
HipHopPhilosophy.com. AC, the program director. Prodak Pistolas. We'll see you guys next week.
One more thing, please.
Go ahead.
acthepd.bandcamp.com is where you will find my album collection of over 50 albums that I produced.
Perfect.
Go right now.
Bandcamp.